So are we going to do this really? I mean, so I'm going to share everything on this computer and I see you there. So it is very interesting what I did this morning. I'll show you. I checked on the search engine this morning and Justin Trudeau, apparently a very hot topic because he was, never mind, okay, Justin Trudeau and
Oh, here's some options. There's the one we're familiar with.
yes,
The one with the
this here, this one is a note which I haven't sent to you because I just found it. And you know, notes are usually more, it's better to evaluate the notes or better to analyze the notes because the notes come spontaneously.
Can you really beat harp something? Wishing you all the best, Mike.
So the bottom one is Justin Trudeau. So this note is done in a hurry without thinking. So we can understand more about the personality here. Although just as you said, it's not too much. And I think this refers to what Stephen Harper, yeah. And if that's true, if you open that, your search, I don't know, I think, because it doesn't have a date, but I believe it will put us into like 2014, but yeah.
Okay.
2014, but I'm not
I'll
sure.
let me write it down right quick. I'll write that down. 2014. Do you know the title of the movie?
No, if you search for Stephen Harper, that's the other candidate, and then Justin Trudeau won the election. So, and that was about 2014, but I'm not sure. So it just, because we will come up with different handwriting
it's just
samples. So it's just good to know where to put them chronologically, so we know how the person changed in time.
Okay. I'll look up Stephen Harper and Justin Trudeau. Okay. And that'll give a...
That will give us an estimate of when it was written. I guess it's before the election.
Okay, so that's this one right here. This Mike, just watch me. That's oh, there we are. Okay, so that's what's being said. Can you really beat Harper? Harper is what's being said there. I couldn't tell what was being said. I couldn't tell what that word was.
Under.
Okay.
Under.
Just watch me.
Okay.
Right.
Can you really beat? But this is from Mike. Wishing you all the best.
Right, and Mike, and then Mike, just watch me. Yes.
Yeah. So what we can see here is a few things we can see, right?
It's a self-conscious there for the M's. The T, I don't like those letter T's at all. I mean, it's not just the low self-esteem, and there's certain individuals who will question what I'm saying there about the self-esteem, but anytime the baseline, see, there's no baseline for that, for the T stem, it just comes out of the letter A, and then it kind of intersects the letter C. To truly have a self-esteem, a person needs a separate letter T. It shouldn't lead into any letter, but not only that, I mean, it's on a low level, but primarily what disqualifies the person as far as a leader is that shallow T-bars. Those are the ones that are, shallow T-bars are great. Those individuals make excellent employees. Okay, they do anything you tell them to without question, without thinking for themselves. Okay, if the police officer stops them, oh no, I'm sorry, sir, whatever it is. Yes, sir, no, sir, whatever. They're, that person is in a position of authority, so that magically means that, they have the ability to outthink me, and I can't call into question what they're doing. Now, that instantly changes when those individuals are in that position of authority. Now, all of a sudden, you're the individual who needs to be the excellent employee. You're the individual who needs to obey everything that they have to say without question, without thinking for yourself. And if they're in the position like police officer or whatever, they're automatically in the right and you can't question them. Same thing translates to being a prime minister or being in a position of authority.
Yeah,
You know, those individuals. So it's really not a good trait for somebody who's in a position of power, because they are dictators when it comes to other individuals who dare to question their authority or not do what they tell them. I'll deal more with that topic in my book, in one of my books, if it ever comes out, Traits of the World's Worst Parents, because parents can be very dictatorial with children who dare to think for themselves on that kind of a topic too. So,
this one, I don't really, this is persistent, both of them persistent traits. When the T goes down, up to the back, and then crosses itself and goes to the future. So usually this in that sense is good. It's a good trait. Here it's a blind persistence. When the person goes against the wall again and again, doesn't give up. But the problem with the blind persistency is that they never look around for other options. Maybe on the wall they would find the door, or they would find a letter. But it's just one. It's not enough trait to judge on. It's very sharp. He's analytical, investigative. So
the drive there is not very strong, though. I find a lot of those individuals who have not much in the way of work drive and not much direction and a goal in what they're doing, or those individuals who don't feel adequate at whatever job they're applying for, they don't put much strength into that T-bar, and those ones are short.
Yes, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So as a result, the enthusiasm is down, and if there's no strength in it, there's no willpower. The strength on that letter T, that T-bar, wanes. It's definitely not very strong, and it's not long. So there's something interfering with his direction, in addition to the shallow T-bars, kind of confirmed to me that he probably feels inadequate. And that, in combination with a certain video that I saw of him swearing allegiance to the Queen of England, he looks like he was installed. He looks like he was, like he feels, like he was fortunate to be there, which he probably is. I'm just not, I don't know the exact scenario, but the length of the T-bar does not look like he feels adequate in the job that he's pursuing.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we will delete this part. It's just for me, whether somebody feels adequate is the self-esteem, and here what we can see is not enough self-esteem, but a lot of confidence. We see that with a lot of people who are vain, but with a low self-esteem, and they always try to prove themselves.
More or less.
And from this M, you can see that he's putting himself out to a greater observation, but he's worried what people are saying about him.
And the capitals are also another, like the just.
Yeah,
that's a very strong ego there.
Yes.
The signature is another ego thing. But like you're saying, I mean, it's common a person can have that strong ego and yet have a low self-esteem. Looks like he'd be a good entertainer. I'm not sure if he's in the best position where he's at. So
okay, let's see another. It's been originally it's posted in 2016.
All right, let's see what this one is. Tolerance is never sufficient. Humanity must learn to love our differences.
Yeah, so this is when he visited the memorial, I think, in Auschwitz. Okay, a few things shows again, no question that he is a very clever guy, but a lot of frustration. And again, if you can see
Mm-hmm.
the self-consciousness.
Yep. I'm just seeing more of the same when it comes to T-bars, those the shallow dish T-bars, and what you were talking about. I mean, the persistence in those. It's more common to have kind of a blindness when it comes to that, when a person doesn't have, like, say, a different direction that they can go to accomplish the same goal. Yeah, the upper zones, there's very little happening. The L's are very short.
Mm-hmm.
Upper zones are they're kind of stunted, and the T-bars are not high.
Okay.
For something, I'm not able to see that. For something
There is-
campaign.
Yeah, there is a major red flag in this writing. I don't know if I can really enlarge it for you, but you see this one? This is what we were talking about.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay,
Okay, so this is a lying loop.
right.
And for me, it seems like it's overlapping.
Yeah, I think it is. It
This,
very likely could be. I'd have to put a magnifying glass on that to really get a good
yes,
view of
this
it.
as well. Here, I mean, the line is dominates the, oh my God, okay, here as well, but this
There's
is,
a good
it's
one right
no
there.
question, this is overlapping. So the line
Yeah.
dominates the whole personality.
That's right.
And again,
Yeah, these are good examples here.
I don't want to go to jail, and I don't want my bank
Yeah.
account to be.
That's
frozen.
intentional deceit. That's intentional deceit right there, because it's on the right-hand side of
Yes.
each one of those.
Yes.
Those are deceit.
Yes, this is deceit. It's not that necessarily really bad all the time. It depends how big the loop is. But because there is no honesty at all in this person, like it's all over the place, yeah,
Right.
all over, or self-deceit, or he is deceiving others, or he does both at the same time, or just lies here too. It's
Yeah, he lies basically everywhere, which that kind of an individual probably has a tough time keeping up with their lies, which is why it shows up in the things that he says. One thing, he'll contradict himself from one day to the next because he can't keep up with the lies. That's an individual that commonly writes in that kind of a way, and it's an explanation as to why he does that. Yeah, this is a good sample.
Some people say that graphology is controversial, and it can be, especially if it is interpreted by a fool, sorry to say it like that. But as regards to our neural pathways, the correlation between personality and automatic muscle movements, there are no questions. So the challenging part is to figure out these correlations. And some graphologists don't agree on different interpretation on different pen strokes, but when it comes to the lying loop, I think there is a general agreement, like we all agree on that. Yeah, there is no question, right. But whatever book I choose to read, there is a common agreement on that. So here, I don't think we can go wrong. Yeah,
right,
sometimes,
right.
Yeah, sometimes there is a question.
Right. Everybody's basically on the same page when it comes to what this is talking about. Virtually anybody who's written a book on handwriting analysis is going to bring out the thing that we brought out. So yeah, that much is pretty much accepted.
Yes, it is.
These are
Well
lying.
established. And it is established as lying, manipulating, and when they overlap each other, reveals that lies become a habit. And here it totally dominates the person, even when there is no clear benefit to it. But the loops, I found that it's not very big. So I think it would be still noticeable by people who are close to him, like wife, children, or colleagues he's working with.
Yeah, people get good at lying for various reasons. It's because they're doing things that they shouldn't. People pick up the ability to lie because either they're stealing something, or because they're hiding something, or because they have bad intentions, or because of a number of things. So people don't just lie just simply because they're afraid of telling the truth, because the truth would reveal who they are. Anytime you see lying loops somewhere, there's something that they're covering up in their life, or something that they're doing that is wrong or improper. Okay, now I can see the whole note here a little bit better. The $1 Million for Change campaign. Didn't try to figure out. Wow. These are amazing letter O's.
Yeah.
And letter A's. I mean, these.
No honesty at all.
What? I mean, we're looking at double loops on that. What? They just don't intersect on that one. But yeah, I mean, he is.
Because
It's
normally,
full
even
of lies.
yes, because sometimes when we see samples like this, at least we find some clear, oh no, when they are getting tired of lying. But here I don't see any integrity or honesty, and even there would be just an O here. I show you, it's pierced again. So even when there is no connection to the O, it gets pierced.
Yeah, it's a pierced letter O.
Amazing.
Wow.
To be honest, I didn't expect to find this. Yeah, okay. Shall we check another one? Just to have a full picture. All right.
Yeah, this is the one that I saw earlier.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of lying loops. I'm not seeing quite as much. They're not as strongly pronounced as some of his other writings. But there's no, the pathological liar isn't there.
Okay.
I think what it is.
It is just lying loop, as you say. I don't see
There
any
we go.
pathological either
Okay.
here. But what about this?
Oh, that's true. There are. Yep.
It is.
So yeah. So I guess if you lie, eventually you'll believe that lie.
Yeah.
So that's the point that he's gotten to here. Most of it is intentional lying,
Yes.
but there are places where these intersect, like the ones you were just talking about. Those ones where the loops actually intersect, those ones are pathological.
Do you like this tea?
Well, it's domineering.
It is very much domineering. And I've seen in the earlier sample as well several times, and it's sharp at the edge. But you see, everybody says now that he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen to the crowd, to the trackers. But what about his ears? They are wide open.
Right.
Most of them. It's nice. So he can actually listen. Only problem that vanity gets in the way. And this on its own, just the vanity is a barrier to a healthy self-recognition. And when we spot weaknesses, when we analyze, we also search for defense mechanism. And here we go. We got domineering, pushing down, bullying, this downward pointing T-bar. And but it's also coupled with persistent, very good persistent. And but he does listen. He's very sharp. Quick observant, but of course, no wonder that he made it so high. It's just the way he deals with situation where his ego is attacked is to push down people.
I'm only seeing the one that does that, but it is present. I wouldn't give it much weight
Which one?
as far as the domineering.
The domineering, do you
But
know?
yeah, but it is there, and it does show up. So we have to take it into consideration. I'm just seeing a bunch. I'm saying the majority of the letter T's are of the other type, the shallow T bars, which are not the shallow T bars are not
Shallow thinking, yeah.
intended to be, that's not a good trait to have among those individuals who are leading the world. They take it upon themselves to believe that they are the source of authority for everything, and they're in that position, so you have to obey them.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I agree with that
just
completely.
like the mommy or the daddy. I'm the daddy, and that's why. And that's not an explanation of anything. Well, I'm the prime minister, and that's why. That's an explanation for anything either. This
So
one, let's
I
see here. I haven't
think
seen this one
we
yet.
have seen before.
Oh, I did see
And
this.
you see here, there is also domineering teas. And of course, most of the time you don't see them because he connects everything. He has a very good fluidity of thinking.
Right.
But when he doesn't connect the T's, immediately that trait comes out and reveals. And like this is the last T here. Oh,
I'm seeing floater T-bars in this one, and
so
I've seen it in some other samples also. But which one are you talking about? Let's see here. Oh, let's talk about the one that you were looking at, these T's that you've got circled there. You're talking about the downward angle
Yes.
on those.
It's only noticeable if the T is the last letter, because otherwise it would be connected. He prefers
Right.
cursive, which is actually good. Yeah, so I definitely see the domineering. For me, it's not a question. Of course, a very few words ends with T, but then it's all consistent in showing this trait.
That could mean something. Basically, every time a word ends with the letter T, it's pointed downwards. So there's a trend there that needs to be watched for. That's a good point that you have there.
Can you see this is written in 2014? So, yeah, 2014, I remember Melissa Landsman, the MP, she did ask that when the Prime Minister gone wrong, when? So, well, the answer for her question is that way before 2016, but
Positive, optimistic, hopeful vision for public life isn't a naive dream. It could be a powerful force for change. If Canadians are to trust their government needs to trust Canadians. Those are the words of the Prime Minister in 2015. These people, very often misogynistic, racist, women haters, science deniers, the fringe. Same Prime Minister 6 years later as he fans the flames of an unjustified national emergency. So, Mr. Speaker, when did the Prime Minister lose his way? When did it happen?
You're right, Honourable Prime Minister.
So yes, well, Melissa, yeah, it's a good question. When did he? We already know that it's way before 2016 because he already has a lot of lying loops and domineering in 2014. It's probably a childhood.
Very well taught in the field of lying from probably a young age.
Here again, you see the N and or I've seen some L previously.
The self-consciousness by itself isn't too much of a red flag. I mean, that just basically means that he's well.
No, it's not. It's not a red
really
flag.
doesn't belong. It doesn't really necessarily belong where he's at, but which he would be self-conscious if he didn't, belong.
Yeah, of course, we see with Michael Jackson
But,
a lot of self-consciousness. Yeah, and he
right.
was great. Just if we post this part so people know self-consciousness, basically a fear of judgment, a fear of ridicule. In other sample, we saw it at the L's, at the double L's. It's also short, so it was basically all over. And the most common response of this fear is to be submissive and engage in pro-social behavior to gain acceptance. And I don't know, at his position, what can he do, like charities, maybe, I don't know. The other thing you can do is to choose to withdraw in order to avoid to getting ridiculed. And for example, now we saw that he walked out on Parliament twice because he didn't like the confrontation. So that can be, you know, part of it. And I mean, normally people don't do that, but I guess this is the self-consciousness came out. The other self-defense we see with this trait is in an attempt of hiding insecurities, you can react in an attention-seeking way by concentrating on developing certain abilities which will gain acceptance. He certainly is a quick-minded, clever person, and although of course he's far from Donald Trump.
You know, they're not necessarily needlepoint M's and N's, but they're more of a pointy M and N. There's actually a mixture of different thinking patterns here, which is common among those who don't necessarily have they're kind of a muddy logic sort of individual. So individuals who have a straight form of logic usually have one form of thinking pattern. Okay, people who can think straight. The problem for those individuals who have the more pointy M's and N's, hey, they work out great for giving speeches, for talking a lot, for coming up with words and just simply, you know, showering an audience with a bunch of words. But when it comes to in-depth thought, they don't have that. These sorts of individuals don't have introverted thinking, which is one of the capabilities that's necessary for figuring things out. Those are the sorts of individuals who basically sit on the couch, light their pipe, and they figure things out. They mull things over, and then they come up with a correct solution. Somebody that writes with that letter M, okay, has the ability to stand up and speak, okay? And it's more of a shallow method of doing things, and it's broader and shallower. They're not necessarily a right or wrong way to think. You know, it's an excellent thinking pattern. It's excellent for giving speeches and that, but you need to be able to sit down and light the pipe, so to speak, when it comes to actually making good decisions. So there's two different types of thinking there. And this one right here is more common among politicians. And it's not a good trait for those individuals who need to actually think things through.
Okay, I'm not sure about that. I did notice what you say, that two different thinking patterns, investigative and analytical and good. And he also can slow down. You see, for example, this age. It shows that he can slow down, is not a Sharpie. So sometimes he needs to see, but you are right. I totally agree that it does help them to jump to conclusion, especially when it is coupled with shallow thinking.
Right. It's a particularly not good trait to have if you're in a high position and you believe that you are the one in authority. Okay, if he's in a position of authority, basically everybody below him needs to be submissive, and everybody below him needs to do what he tells them, and that kind of thing. These kind of thinking patterns, in combination with the shallow T-bars, for instance, it's not a good common. It's not a good. I don't like that combination with anyone in a position of authority.
No, because because we call it domineering, but what it really, with all these traits, like you just said, it together, it correlates to a personality who questions everyone's ability to get the task done, and therefore he controls and gets more fussy about the process rather than the result.
Oh yeah, I think so. I was thinking also of this, the floating letter T's, the floating T-bars. Like that, thanks. And he does that at the first of a different Thanks again for having taken a moment to share your congratulations. But
Okay.
he does that in a couple of different places. He starts off one of his letters in the same way, but that floating letter T is a strong indicator that he's overshooting his actual capabilities. People who have floater T bars basically aim too high. And that's probably what he did when he got into this position of prime minister,
Yeah.
is he aimed too high. He doesn't belong there.
You know, he's
That's kind of, but I mean, it's an overshoot. That's one of the things that's like a dead giveaway for me. You know, somebody that doesn't belong there
yeah, some dreamer can do
can
that.
actually accomplish what their dreams are. Yeah.
Yes.
If they have enough of the other positive traits, if they have enthusiasm, if they have the willpower, if they got determination in their lower zones, if they got lots of other positive traits, a dreamer can go quite a long ways and actually, surprise everybody and accomplish things that you wouldn't have expected. But he doesn't have those really. He doesn't have the strong willpower. He doesn't have enthusiasm. There's no length to the T-bars. So he doesn't have a lot of strength to back up, the dreams.
Yes,
And
actually,
so,
not even physical. Yes, I don't know. What is your conclusion?
it looks to me like he extroverts thinking. Probably he might extrovert thinking as a primary capability. Briggs, extroverted sensory thinker judger.
But why do
I
you
don't
think
like
it's
those
extroverted? The slant is not extroverted. It's
Oh, no. This is extroversion according to Myers-Briggs. So this is a different side, is a different type. It might not be something that we bring out necessarily
okay.
as this, but it's a different branch of behavior. But basically, an extrovert, according to how a person is hardwired, according to like Myers-Briggs and personality typing systems, an extrovert can have a left slant. And there's some introverts, according to Myers-Briggs, that have a right slant. I have a hard right slant, and I'm an introvert.
Oh, because probably you write very small, yes?
I have a small middle zone, but I can write, I can put some size in the upper and lower zones, but my middle zone is relatively small. But I had at one time an E+ slant. I fixed that as a tad bit too friendly. But there are extroverts in this world. I had an extroverted boss that had a left. Two extroverted bosses that had left slants. And so it goes contrary to the information that we have, for handwriting analysis. So I brought this up in a speech that I gave a year and a half ago. It's 2020, July convention for American Handwriting Analysis Foundation and American Association of Handwriting Analysts. They get together but yeah, I brought out that there are left slant extroverts and right slant introverts, according to Myers-Briggs. So, but this right here, Justin Trudeau, he does appear to be extroverted, and according to his mannerisms, he appears to be extroverted. That in combination with the thinking patterns, I'm thinking it's primary. He's probably an extroverted thinker judger, and I'm thinking probably sensory. He would be much better off if he was intuitive. If he was looking for a position of power or authority, he'd be less easy to corrupt. He would be less short-sighted. An intuitive, like an ENTJ, would have the ability to predict things a lot easier. They're less corruptible. Not necessarily does that mean that they're totally incorruptible, but they're less corruptible than the STJ, and they make the right decisions. They're far better decision makers than this right here is.
That's interesting, and I can see, because you obviously know much more about this than I do. But yeah, the signature.
You're very good. You're very good. I just happen to know links between Myers-Briggs and handwriting analysis, and that's why I was qualified to give that speech. But As far as, I mean, as far as picking out traits, you're quite good. You're very good at this, so.
Thank you. So what you just said, for me, that it only makes sense because I spotted the signature. So in that sense that he acts extrovertedly, I can completely agree with that. When I saw this writing, I feel sympathy always for people who has lying loose, because I know they've been in a situation in life when they needed to develop this trait in order to survive or just to get out of situations. And understanding the pain behind the terrible choices people make, it makes us sympathize with them. But this time, my sympathy goes for those who are exposed to him.
Right.
There are so
I'm
much.
not certain that he was exposed to much pain. I mean, people pick up lying things though, I mean, simply as a method of gaining ground, getting forward in life. They will deliberately, I mean, people lie when they get into positions of, say, corrupt business practices or something like that, which his type is also prone towards. So, and in which case they get into that. It's a protection for them, but why are they needing protection? You know,
But if
I
his
mean,
dad was very strict, I know that his dad was, or he
oh,
was also the prime minister, I don't know, like 30 years ago, something like that.
I'd have to check it out. I'd like to see his father's handwriting. That would be good to see. That would be actually a good, because that would be, I've seen that before. That's a good indicator as to what shapes a kid, because I could take a look at the father, figure out the type there, and then figure out, you know, was his father, say, an individual that basically wanted to cram his kid into a certain mold, you know, like a smaller version of himself, which that's another common thing among those individuals who write with the shallow T-bars. They try to create kids that are just like them. And when their kids who are different, you know, don't turn out just like them, well, that magically means that they're bad and they need punished or something like that. It's really, really, it's detrimental. Absolutely. So there's a possibility that something like that could have happened with Justin Trudeau. I'm not sure. We'd have to see his father's handwriting, I would think.
I'm going to send this to Bart and see if, I don't know, I hope we didn't say anything bad, but you know, if you see Sky Australia, GB News, they are very vocal about Justin Trudeau. So yeah, they are so vocal. And my favorite is Fox News with Tucker Carlson. Yeah, I love that guy. So then he doesn't bother to say whatever he pleases. So let's hope that it's not a problem to post this.